The late afternoon sun poured through the tall windows of the Johnson family's Atlanta condo, casting the room in a golden glow as Amara Johnson stood frozen, her heartbeat rattling against her ribs like a trapped bird. "You did what?" she demanded, her voice tight with disbelief. Her father, Marcus Johnson, once a respected banker but now drowning in debt, couldn't meet her eyes. "Baby girl, you have to understand our situation," he said, but the words only fueled her anger. "Understand? You're asking me to understand that you promised my first time to some rich stranger?" At 18, Amara had just finished high school and dreamed of college, not this. Her mother, Denise, stepped forward nervously, tugging at her gold chain. "Not a stranger, Amara, Malik Carter, one of the most successful men in Atlanta." Amara let out a bitter laugh. "Oh, that makes it so much better." Marcus slid a folder across the glass table. "The Carter family needs an heir. Malik's inheritance depends on it, and we need this." Amara's tone was flat. "You mean you need his money?" Marcus's voice cracked. $5 million. "It clears every debt, secures your tuition, a fresh start for all of us." Amara opened the folder with trembling hands. The contract laid out terms that made her stomach twist. Marry Malik Carter and give him an heir in exchange for her family's financial survival. "And if I refuse?" she asked. Her parents exchanged a look that told her everything. Denise spoke softly. "We meet him tomorrow night at the charity gala downtown. Please just meet him before you decide." Amara turned toward the Atlanta skyline, her body numb, her future being traded like a commodity. The next evening, the ballroom of the Regency Hotel glittered with chandeliers and silk gowns as Atlanta's elite filled the space. Amara tugged at the midnight blue gown her mother had borrowed for her, the fabric clinging uncomfortably as if announcing that her body was no longer her own. "There he is," Denise whispered. Amara followed her gaze and froze. Malik Carter stood near the bar in a tailored black suit, his dark skin radiant under the lights, his presence commanding. At 32, he moved with the authority of a man who had never been denied. His eyes found hers across the room, steady and piercing, and a small smile curved his lips before he walked toward her. "Miss Johnson," he said smoothly, his voice deep and rich, "I've been looking forward to meeting you." Amara raised her chin. "I wish I could say the same, Mr. Carter." His smile widened. "Honesty, refreshing." He extended his hand. "Would you dance with me? We have things to discuss." She found herself being led onto the dance floor, his hand firm at her waist and his gaze never leaving hers. "I know this arrangement isn't conventional," he said as he guided her with ease. "Conventional? It's medieval. Nobody does this anymore," she retorted. His tone stayed calm. "Your parents didn't tell you everything. This isn't about one night. The contract requires marriage." Amara faltered. "Marriage?" "Yes, I need a wife, not a one-night stand." "My grandfather's will demands it. To inherit the Carter fortune, I must marry and have an heir before my 33rd birthday, 3 months from now." Her chest tightened. "And you chose me why?" His expression softened. "Your father showed me your photo, told me about your grades, your volunteer work, your determination. You're intelligent, beautiful, and from a good family even if they're struggling." Her voice shook. "So I'm just good stock to breed with?" "No," he replied firmly. "You're someone I believe I could build a life with. The heir is a requirement I can't escape, but the woman I share my life with, that was my choice. And I chose you." Amara's world spun. Whether contract or marriage, her freedom was slipping away. "I need time," she whispered. "Of course," Malik said, "but not too much. My birthday is approaching." As he walked her back toward her parents, his hand brushed hers, sending an unexpected jolt through her body. She pulled away quickly, unsettled by her reaction. That night, back in her room, Amara paced with the contract spread out on her bed. $5 million, her family's salvation, marriage to one of Atlanta's wealthiest men, and the price was her freedom and dreams. Her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "I know this isn't fair to you, but maybe we can find a way to make it work for both of us. Dinner tomorrow. Just us, no parents, no lawyers. Just two people talking. Malik." Her pulse quickened as she read the words. Against her better judgment, she typed back, "Fine, but I'm not promising anything." She tossed the phone aside and lay back on her bed staring at the ceiling, her heart pounding with confusion. What had she just agreed to? And why, despite everything, did the thought of seeing Malik Carter again make her heart race? The following evening, Amara arrived 15 minutes late to the quiet restaurant Malik had chosen. her own small act of rebellion. She wore jeans and a simple blouse, a deliberate reminder that she would not be molded into anyone's perfect image of a society wife. Malik was already waiting, rising from the table as she entered. His eyes swept over her casually dressed figure with amusement, not disapproval. "You look beautiful," he said warmly. "I didn't dress for you," Amara replied, sliding into her chair. "I didn't think you did. That's what makes it genuine." His smile was disarming, so effortless that she felt irritated with herself for noticing. The waiter appeared with menus, but Malik waved them away. "I took the liberty of ordering for us." Amara lifted a brow. "Actually, I do mind. I prefer making my own choices." Something flickered in his eyes, not irritation, but respect. He quickly called the waiter back and asked for menus, conceding without argument. The small victory gave Amara a surge of confidence. "So," she said, crossing her arms, "explain to me why a man like you has to buy a wife. Don't women already throw themselves at you every day?" "They throw themselves at my money and my name," Malik said evenly. "There's a difference. And how am I any different? This arrangement is still about your money." "True," he admitted without hesitation, "but at least we're honest about it. No illusions. No games." He leaned forward, his gaze steady. "And unlike those women, you've made it very clear you want nothing to do with me." Amara let out a short laugh. "And that appeals to you?" "It intrigues me," he corrected. "I've spent my life surrounded by people who say yes to everything I want." "You're different." "You challenge me." Their menus arrived and they ordered. For a few moments silence stretched between them, but it wasn't heavy. To Amara's surprise, it almost felt natural. After a sip of water, Malik's tone shifted, more serious. "I want to clarify something. The contract requires marriage and an heir, but it doesn't specify when the heir must be conceived. We could marry, satisfy the terms, and then take our time. Get to know each other properly. Build something real before we take that step." Amara studied him carefully, searching for insincerity. "You'd actually be willing to wait?" "I'd prefer it," he said without hesitation. "I want an heir, yes, but more than that, I want a marriage, not just a business arrangement." Their first course arrived, a delicate salad with candied pecans and goat cheese. Amara ate slowly, turning over his words in her mind. "What about my education?" she asked finally. "I've been accepted to Emory University for pre-law. I plan to specialize in human rights law." Malik's eyes lit with interest. "You want to fight for justice? That's admirable. Then you'll go to Emory. Our marriage doesn't mean you have to give up your dreams." Her expression was skeptical. "Most men in your position want a trophy wife, not someone with her own career." "I'm not most men. My mother was brilliant, a mathematician who gave up her career for my father. I watched her fade into a shadow of herself. I don't want that for my wife." Amara hesitated, surprised by the raw honesty in his voice. The picture she had painted of him as nothing more than a cold, controlling billionaire didn't quite match the man across the table. He leaned forward. "Tell me about yourself, Amara. Not what's in your file. Not what your parents told me, you." Cautiously, she opened up, sharing her passion for justice, her volunteer work at a legal aid clinic, her love of classic novels, even her embarrassing addiction to cheesy sci-fi movies. To her surprise, Malik listened intently, his expression never mocking, his interest genuine. He in turn revealed pieces of himself she hadn't expected. His love of astronomy, the observatory he built on his estate, his collection of first edition books, the burden of carrying the Carter legacy alone. Time passed quickly, hours slipping by until they were sharing dessert, a rich chocolate souffle. Malik reached across the table and brushed his fingers over hers. "I have a proposal, different from the one the lawyers drafted. Give me 2 weeks. Date me like a normal couple. If after that you still want nothing to do with me, I'll tear up the contract. I'll still pay your family's debts and cover your tuition. No strings attached." Amara pulled her hand back, suspicion flaring. "Why would you do that?" "Because I want a partner, not a prisoner, and because in just these few hours I've seen a woman I could truly fall for. I'd rather win you honestly than force you into something you'll resent forever." Her mind raced. Was this another manipulation, or was he sincere? 2 weeks, she said carefully. "No lawyers. No pressure. Just us." "Agreed," he said, his smile soft but certain. As they left the restaurant, the summer night air wrapped around them. Under the glow of a street lamp, Malik paused. "May I?" he asked gently, his intention clear. Against her better judgment, Amara nodded. His kiss was not demanding but tentative, questioning, as though he held something fragile in his hands. Heat bloomed in her chest, her fingers tingling with confusion as her body betrayed her anger. When they parted, she was breathless. "Good night, Amara," he murmured, stepping back with quiet respect. She rode home in silence, her heart pounding as she touched her lips, still warm from his kiss. What had just happened? She had agreed to 2 weeks with a man she had every reason to hate. But why, despite everything, did the thought of seeing Malik Carter again fill her with an excitement she couldn't ignore? 3 days into their unusual agreement, Amara found herself on Malik Carter's private yacht, sailing slowly along the Atlanta waterfront. The city skyline shimmered in the distance while the summer breeze tangled through her curls. "Is this how you impress all your dates?" she asked, raising her brow as she looked around at the luxury, flashy displays of wealth. Malik handed her a tall glass of sparkling water with lime. "Actually, this is the first time I've taken the yacht out in months. I thought you'd enjoy seeing the city from a different perspective." Amara studied him over the rim of her glass. For 3 days, he had been nothing but respectful. Their first date had been at the High Museum of Art, where she discovered his genuine fascination with abstract expressionism. The second had been at the legal aid clinic where she volunteered. To her shock, he had rolled up his sleeves and spent hours helping organize files, never complaining, never trying to impress anyone but her. "You're staring," Malik teased, his lips curving slightly. "I'm trying to figure you out," she admitted. "You're not what I expected." Disappointed? There was a hint of vulnerability in his tone. "Confused," she corrected. "Why go through all this trouble? You could have anyone you want." He stepped closer to the railing, their shoulders brushing. "I told you before. I want someone real, someone who challenges me. Someone like you." His voice was quiet but steady, and the sincerity in his eyes made her chest tighten. She quickly looked away toward the water. "Tell me about your family," she said. "Beyond the Carter empire, what were they really like?" A shadow crossed his expression. "My father was distant. The business always came first. My mother tried to compensate but gave up so much of herself. As I told you, she was brilliant, but she sacrificed her dreams. She and my father both died in a plane crash when I was 24. Since then, I've been alone." Amara's heart softened. "I'm sorry. It was a long time ago." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "What about your parents? Were they always this desperate for status?" "No," she said firmly. "My father used to be different, funny, present. But after losing everything, he became obsessed with getting back on top. My mother just follows his lead." Malik nodded thoughtfully. "And now they've dragged you into it." "They're flawed," she said defensively, "but they're still my parents." "I understand loyalty," Malik replied, "but you deserve the right to make your own choices." The yacht eventually docked at a quiet marina. A sleek car was waiting to take them to a destination Malik refused to reveal. Half an hour later, they pulled up to a modest community center in a neighborhood Amara didn't recognize. "What are we doing here?" she asked. "You'll see," Malik answered as they stepped inside. Immediately, the sound of children's laughter filled the hall. A group of kids ran toward him, calling out, "Mr. C," as they wrapped him in hugs and high fives. A woman with kind eyes approached. "Malik, right on time. The kids have been asking for you all week." Amara watched, stunned as Malik helped the children with their homework, joined a quick basketball game in the small gym, and listened carefully to every story they told. He knew each child by name, remembered their details, and gave them his full attention without once glancing at his phone. "You come here often?" she asked later when they finally had a quiet moment. "Every Wednesday for the past 5 years. More if I can. Why didn't you tell me about this?" "It's not something I advertise. The Carter Foundation supports programs all over the city, but this one means the most to me." "Why?" He looked out at the children with soft eyes. "Because money only goes so far. These kids need to know someone truly cares about them, not just as statistics." Something shifted in Amara's heart. The arrogant businessman she thought she knew was giving way to someone entirely different, someone who surprised her at every turn. That evening, back at his penthouse, they ate dinner on the rooftop garden. Malik had insisted on cooking, serving her a simple but delicious pasta. "Not bad for a billionaire," she teased, twirling spaghetti on her fork. "I've been taking cooking classes," he admitted. My chef was tired of me sneaking into the kitchen at midnight. Amara laughed, then grew serious. Can I ask you something personal? Anything. Why is having an heir so important to you, important enough to arrange a marriage? He set his fork down, thoughtful. The obvious answer is inheritance. My grandfather's will is strict. No heir, no company. But the deeper answer is that I don't want the Carter legacy to end with me. And more than that, I want a family. Something real. Something that belongs to me. Not because of money or power, but because of love. The vulnerability in his voice touched something deep inside her. Without thinking, she reached across the table and took his hand. I think I'm starting to understand you, Malik Carter. His fingers tightened around hers. And what do you see? A man who hides his best qualities behind his wealth. A man who might actually be worth knowing. The air between them shifted, thick with unspoken possibility. Malik leaned closer, silently asking permission. Amara closed the distance and their lips met. Soft at first, then deepening as heat spread through her entire body. When they pulled apart, she was trembling slightly, overwhelmed by the intensity of her feelings. I should go, she whispered, even though every part of her wanted to stay. He respected her hesitation, nodding gently. I'll drive you home. Outside her building, he walked her to the door. Day 3, he said softly. 13 more to go, Amara bit her lip. I might not need that long. Hope flickered in his eyes. Is that good or bad? Instead of answering, she kissed him again, quick but full of meaning. Good night, Malik. Inside her apartment, she leaned against the door, her heart racing. She had started this arrangement determined to despise him, but now she was looking forward to tomorrow. Her phone buzzed with a message from Malik. Sleep well, Amara. Today was perfect. She hugged the phone to her chest, smiling despite herself. Perfect indeed, and dangerously unexpected. You're falling for him, Maya said bluntly, stirring her latte with unnecessary force. Amara flushed, glancing around the crowded coffee shop to make sure no one was listening. Maya Carter had been her best friend since childhood, someone who always told the truth whether Amara wanted to hear it or not. Today her honesty stung. It's complicated, Amara muttered. It's not complicated. It's a business deal. Your family basically sold you to the highest bidder. There's nothing complicated about that, Amara winced. It started that way, but Malik is not who I thought he was. Maya raised a brow. Malik? Oh, honey, you're in deeper than I thought. A week had passed since their rooftop dinner. 7 days of surprises, small kindnesses, and conversations that stretched into the early hours. 7 days of her resistance slowly melting. He took me to his grandmother's cottage yesterday, Amara said softly. Not the mansion everyone knows, but a small place outside the city. He's turning it into a retreat for foster kids. He remembers every little thing I say. My favorite flowers, my dream trips, even the legal cases I'm obsessed with. Yesterday he had Supreme Court Justice Ruth Williams call me. They're family friends. We talked for an hour about international human rights law. Maya's expression softened. That's sweet. But don't forget, Amara, at the end of the day, he's still buying you. That's just it. He gave me an out. The 2-week trial was his idea. He promised to tear up the contract and still pay my parents' debts if I walked away. Maya leaned back, skeptical. That's clever. Easier to seduce you into saying yes than force you. Before Amara could respond, her phone buzzed. A message from Malik lit up the screen. Lunch at 1? I have news about the Anderson case you mentioned. Her smile gave her away instantly. Oh God, you're glowing, Maya groaned. Just promise me you'll be careful. Men like him don't change overnight? Amara nodded, but her heart wasn't listening. I know what I'm doing, Maya, trust me. Later that day, Malik was waiting outside the bistro, his smile lighting up the street the moment he saw her. As always, Amara's pulse betrayed her, quickening at the sight of him. You look beautiful, he said, kissing her cheek. You say that every time. And I mean it every time. Over lunch, he shared updates on the Anderson case, a wrongful conviction she had been following closely. He had quietly arranged for his top legal team to review it. You did all this just because I mentioned it once, Amara asked, touched. Your passions matter to me. If it's important to you, it's important to me. Their conversation flowed easily as it always did, full of laughter, challenge, and sparks. As dessert arrived, Malik leaned forward. Tomorrow marks 2 weeks, Amara's chest tightened. Yes, it does. I'd like to take you somewhere special. To celebrate. Celebrate what? she asked cautiously. Whatever decision you make. His sincerity made her throat ache. No pressure, Amara. These 2 weeks have been the best of my life. If tomorrow you decide to walk away, I'll respect it. But I needed you to know that. She reached across the table, taking his hand. These 2 weeks have changed everything for me, too. They left the restaurant together, but flashing lights stopped them on the sidewalk. Paparazzi swarmed, cameras firing. Malik, over here. Who's the woman? Miss, are you his new girlfriend? Malik quickly wrapped an arm around her and guided her into the waiting car. I'm sorry, he murmured, shielding her from the frenzy. I usually avoid public scenes like this. Inside the car, Amara's phone buzzed endlessly with messages. Her parents, classmates, even people she hadn't spoken to in years. Is that you with Malik Carter? When were you going to tell us? At her condo building, the doorman warned them that reporters were already in the lobby. Malik glanced at her. Come to my place. Just until this dies down. She hesitated, then nodded. She wasn't ready to face her parents or the circus waiting at home. His penthouse was a calm sanctuary above the chaos, its floor-to-ceiling windows glowing in the late afternoon sun. Malik loosened his tie. Make yourself comfortable. I'll call my team to contain this. While he disappeared into his office, Amara wandered through the space. Despite its wealth, the apartment felt lived in and warm. Bookshelves lined the walls. Family photos sat on side tables. Malik as a boy with his grandmother. Malik at graduation with his late parents. Malik at the community center surrounded by laughing children. On his desk stood a photo of her and him at the center, smiling at the kids. My assistant took that, Malik said from behind her. I hope you don't mind. It's nice, she said softly, suddenly aware of how alone they were. He stepped closer, cupping her cheek gently. Amara, there's something I need to tell you. Her heart raced. What is it? These 2 weeks weren't just about convincing you. I've fallen in love with you. The words hit her like a tidal wave. Malik's eyes held nothing but honesty. I know it's fast, I know it's complicated, but I had to say it before tomorrow. I want you to choose me, not the contract, just me. Tears stung Amara's eyes. She touched his jaw, whispering, I think I've been falling since that first dinner. I just didn't want to admit it. His smile was radiant as his lips claimed hers, the kiss deep and consuming. He lifted her into his arms, carrying her toward the bedroom. What followed was everything she had ever dreamed, tender, patient, and filled with whispered words of love. Later, lying in his embrace as the city lights twinkled beyond the windows, Amara whispered, I love you. He tightened his arms around her. Say it again, she smiled, meeting his gaze. I love you, Malik Carter. And I love you, Amara Johnson. In that moment, nothing else mattered, not contracts, not inheritances, not obligations, just the truth of what had grown between them. Amara woke to sunlight streaming across unfamiliar windows and the soft scent of coffee in the air. For a moment she lay still, a smile spreading as memories of the night before washed over her. Malik's confession, his touch, the way she had finally admitted her feelings. Wrapping herself in his shirt, she padded barefoot through the penthouse and found him in the kitchen, flipping pancakes, dressed in nothing more than pajama bottoms and a plain t-shirt. Good morning, beautiful, he said, pulling her into his arms and kissing her tenderly. Better than I've slept in weeks, she replied. They ate breakfast on the terrace, talking easily, laughing like a couple who had been together for years. For once, Amara felt light, free, almost certain that she had made the right choice. Then her phone chimed with an urgent message from her mother. Amara, have you seen the news? Call immediately. With dread, she opened a news site. Her stomach dropped. The headline read, Carter heir finds love, romance, or business deal. Beneath it were photographs of her with Malik, along with details of her family's debts. Worst of all, the article quoted an unnamed source confirming the deal. $5 million for a wife and an heir. Her hand shook as she passed Malik the phone. His expression darkened instantly. This is unacceptable. I'll have my PR team respond. Who would leak something like this? She asked. I have my suspicions. My cousin Ryan has always resented me. He would gain everything if I fail the terms of my grandfather's will. Her phone rang. Her father. Reluctantly, she answered. Amara, thank God you're still signing today, right? Ignore the press. We can't let this fall apart now. Dad, I need more time. There is no time, Marcus snapped. The 2 weeks are over. We need this deal. Her throat tightened. This isn't just a deal to me anymore. You've actually fallen for him? He demanded. That was never part of the plan. Amara froze. Plan? What plan? Her father hesitated before sighing heavily. I may have encouraged his interest in you. I showed him your picture, told him about your achievements, made sure he knew about our financial troubles. I did what was necessary. You set this whole thing up, she whispered, numb. You manipulated both of us. I saved this family, Marcus insisted. It worked. He loves you. You love him. Everyone wins. Except it's built on lies, she said bitterly, hanging up before he could reply. When she turned, Malik was watching, his face full of concern. What happened? My father admitted he orchestrated everything. He pushed me toward you knowing about your inheritance. Malik stepped closer. And does that change how you feel? It changes everything. Don't you see? We've been pawns in other people's games. My father, your cousin, even this contract, it's all manipulation. He cupped her face in his hands, his voice steady. Yes, circumstances brought us together. Yes, there were motives and expectations. But what happened between us, the laughter, the nights, the way you look at me, that's real. Amara's chest tightened with doubt and longing. How can I be sure? Malik kissed her softly with a tenderness that brought tears to her eyes. Did that feel like manipulation to you? She shook her head. I love you, Amara Johnson. Not because of a contract or inheritance, but because you are the most extraordinary woman I've ever met. Her voice trembled. I love you too, but I'm scared. Everything is moving so fast. Then we slow down. We don't sign anything today. We take our time, figure this out together. My inheritance is not worth losing you. You'd risk it all for me, without hesitation. Though, he added with a faint smile, you may have to love me for my pancakes instead of my billions. For the first time that morning she laughed. I think I could live with that. The moment was broken by his phone ringing. He stepped into the other room while Amara checked her own messages. Dozens of texts crowded her screen, most demanding answers, but one from Maya stood out. Told you it was complicated? Call me. Whatever you decide, I've got your back. When Malik returned, his expression was grim. That was my lawyer. We missed a clause in my grandfather's will. If I don't marry and produce an heir by my birthday, I don't just lose control of the company. I lose 80% of my personal wealth as well. Amara's heart clenched. So you'd no longer be a billionaire. It doesn't change anything, he said quickly. I meant what I said. I won't pressure you. Her eyes searched his, looking for the smallest crack, but found only truth. Who would you be without all of this? She asked softly. The same man who loves astronomy, who spends Wednesdays with those kids, who fell in love with a brilliant, stubborn woman who challenges him. I'd still be me, Amara, just with less money. Something settled in her heart, a clarity that cut through the noise. She moved closer, taking his hands. I have a proposition. Tear up the contract. No marriage deal, no money for my family, no obligations. Just us, a fresh start. His eyes widened. And your parents' debts? They're not my responsibility. They made their mistakes, they can fix them. I won't build my future on lies. Admiration lit his face. You amaze me. Then risk it all with me. On something real. His answer was a kiss that left no doubt. That afternoon, Malik and Amara sat in the Carter Enterprises conference room, their families and lawyers gathered around a polished oak table. The contract lay between them, waiting for signatures. Marcus Johnson looked triumphant, Denise nervous but hopeful, while Ryan Carter, Malik's cousin, sat smirking with thinly veiled anticipation. Before anyone could speak, Malik's voice cut through the tension. Amara and I have made a decision. All eyes turned toward her as she picked up the contract. Slowly, deliberately, she tore it in half. The sound of ripping paper echoed in the stunned silence. What are you doing? Marcus shouted, half rising from his chair. Starting over, Amara said firmly. On our terms, Malik added, the contract is void. Whatever happens between us from this moment forward will not be dictated by money or obligation. Ryan leaned forward with a sneer. You realize without this contract you lose everything? Malik's gaze locked on him, cold and steady. Save the fake concern, Ryan. I know it was you who leaked the story to the press. I have proof. As acting CEO, I'm suspending you effective immediately, pending a full investigation into corporate sabotage. Ryan's face drained of color. You can't do this. I already have. Malik nodded to security, who stepped forward and escorted his cousin out as he cursed under his breath. Marcus slammed his fist on the table. "This is outrageous. We had an agreement." "An agreement you manipulated from the start," Amara shot back. "It's over, Dad. Find another way to fix your mistakes." Denise's eyes darted between her husband and daughter, torn. "Amara, please think about what you're doing." "I am, Mom. For the first time, I'm making my own choice." Amara stood, reaching for Malik's hand. Together, they walked out of the conference room, leaving behind the broken deal and the weight of expectations. As the elevator doors slid shut, Malik pulled her close. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. She let out a deep breath, a smile tugging at her lips. "Better than okay. I'm free." He kissed her forehead softly. "So are we. Now what?" she asked. "Now," Malik said with a smile, "we write our own story." 6 months later, Amara hurried through the halls of Emory University's law school, her arms full of textbooks and case briefs. Her first semester had been grueling, but she was thriving, top of her class and already gaining the attention of her professors. "Johnson," Professor Abrams called as she passed his office. "Your analysis of the Mendoza case was outstanding. The kind of work I'd expect from a second year, not a first semester student." "Thank you, Professor," Amara said, glowing with pride. "I've recommended you for a summer internship with the International Justice Coalition. It's competitive, but you've got a strong chance." Her heart skipped. "Really, that's incredible. Thank you." She stepped outside into the crisp December air, her joy bubbling over as she pulled out her phone to text Malik. But his message was already waiting. "Running late from a meeting. On my way now. Can't wait to see you. Love you." Their standing Thursday lunch had become sacred. No matter how hectic their schedules, they made time for each other. At the campus gates, she spotted him bundled in a wool coat, his breath visible in the cold air. Even after all this time, the sight of him sent her heart racing. "Hey, beautiful," he said, kissing her warmly. "Hey yourself," she replied, nestling into his embrace. "How was your morning?" "Productive. The board approved the expansion of the community center. But I want to hear about you. How was your constitutional law final?" "I crushed it," she said with confidence. "And Professor Abrams just recommended me for the International Justice Coalition internship in Geneva next summer." "That's amazing. They'd be lucky to have you. It's 3 months abroad. Would that be okay?" He squeezed her hand. "Of course. Your career matters. We'll make it work." It was what she loved most about him, his unwavering support of her dreams. They walked into their favorite cafe and took their usual corner table. Over soup and sandwiches, Amara shared every detail of her finals, while Malik listened intently, his eyes never leaving hers. When she mentioned her parents inviting them for Christmas, he simply said, "Then we'll go. Family is important even when they drive you crazy." Later that night, Amara curled up in Malik's penthouse while he reviewed financial reports. Though he had lost much of the Carter empire after refusing the contract, he had secured control of the foundation and several subsidiaries. He faced the storm of media scrutiny and boardroom battles with grace, and she loved him all the more for it. "Any regrets?" she asked softly. He set the papers aside and pulled her into his arms. "Not a single one. I'm happier now than I've ever been." "Even without the yacht?" she teased. "Even without the yacht," he laughed. "Though I do miss sneaking away with my incredibly gorgeous girlfriend." She playfully shoved his shoulder. "You're incorrigible. You bring it out in me." He kissed her, slow and certain. Christmas Eve arrived with a light snowfall blanketing the city. Malik had been secretive all week, telling Amara only to pack for cold weather. At noon, a car took them to a private airfield where his jet waited. "Okay, this is getting suspicious," Amara teased as they boarded. "Are you finally going to tell me where we're going?" "Patience," Malik said, kissing her nose. "It's a short flight." 2 hours later, the plane touched down in Vermont. A log cabin sat nestled among pine trees, smoke curling from its chimney. "My grandmother's cabin," Malik explained as they walked inside, the one place that always felt like home. The cabin glowed with warmth, a roaring fire crackling in the stone fireplace, twinkling lights strung across the beams, and a Christmas tree decorated with handmade wooden ornaments. Amara touched one gently. "You made this?" "Every year," he said with a smile. "Gran and I had a tradition. She insisted on using them instead of store-bought decorations." Her heart softened at the glimpse into his childhood. After a simple dinner he had cooked himself, they sat together by the fire wrapped in a blanket, sipping hot chocolate. The glow of the flames danced in his eyes as he turned to her, his expression suddenly serious. Amara, when we met, it was under the strangest circumstances imaginable. An arranged marriage, a contract, manipulation from both sides. Not exactly the romantic beginning most couples dream of, but somehow in the middle of all that we found something real. Her chest tightened as he pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Opening it, he revealed a simple but exquisite diamond ring. What we have isn't bound by contracts or obligations. It's built on choice, and I want to choose you for the rest of my life. Amara Johnson, will you marry me? Not because of a legacy, not because of a business deal, but because I love you more than I ever thought possible. Tears filled her eyes as she whispered, "Yes, yes, Malik Carter, I'll marry you." His smile was radiant as he slipped the ring on her finger, a perfect fit. She threw her arms around his neck, kissing him with all the love in her heart. Later that night, as they lay tangled together in the cabin's master bedroom, Amara admired the ring glistening in the moonlight. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "It was my grandmother's," he said softly. "She told me to give it only to the woman who loved me for myself, not for what I could give her. That woman is you." She touched his cheek, overwhelmed. "She must have been incredible." "She was," Malik replied. "And she would have loved you. Stubborn, brilliant, and full of fire. You remind me of her." Amara smiled through her tears. "Then I like to think she had a hand in bringing us together." He laughed gently. "Maybe she did. Or maybe fate just decided we deserved this." Their kiss that followed was tender and full of promise, sealing a bond stronger than any contract. 1 year later, the Vermont cabin was transformed into a wedding venue. Lanterns hung from the trees, wildflowers lined the aisle, and close friends and family gathered in an intimate circle. Amara walked down the path in a simple white dress, her natural curls flowing freely, her smile radiant. Malik stood waiting in a charcoal suit, his eyes never leaving hers. "You may now kiss the bride," the officiant declared. Cheers erupted as Malik pulled her into his arms, kissing her deeply under the canopy of lights. The reception was filled with laughter and joy. Her parents, slowly rebuilding their relationship with her, watched with genuine pride. Denise whispered, "I'm sorry for how it began, but I'm so glad for how it turned out." Maya, her maid of honor, raised a glass. "When Amara first told me about Malik, I was skeptical. Actually, I was furious, but I've watched them prove that real love can grow in the most unlikely places." To Amara and Malik, who tore up the script and wrote their own story. That night, as they danced beneath the stars, Amara rested her head on Malik's chest. "Happy, Mrs. Carter?" he murmured. "Incredibly," she whispered. Though technically soon to be Dr. Johnson Carter, she reminded him with a playful smile. Her Geneva fellowship awaited after graduation, and Malik had already promised to divide his time between Atlanta and Europe, so they'd never be apart for long. He kissed her forehead. "Dr. Johnson Carter, I like the sound of that." "So do I." She looked into his eyes, her heart overflowing. "Thank you for tearing up that contract, for risking everything for me, for letting me choose my own path. And thank you," he whispered, "for choosing me." 5 years later, Amara stood before the International Court of Justice in Geneva, her voice clear and commanding as she delivered her closing argument in a landmark human rights case. At only 33, she had built a reputation as a fearless advocate for justice, her work changing laws and protecting vulnerable lives around the world. In the gallery, Malik watched with pride, their 3-year-old daughter Eliza perched on his lap. The little girl had her mother's determination and her father's bright green eyes. She clapped enthusiastically when Amara finished speaking, drawing smiles from the room. That evening, back in their Geneva apartment overlooking the lake, Amara tucked Eliza into bed. "Mommy, tell me the story about you and Daddy again," the child whispered sleepily. Amara brushed curls from her daughter's forehead and smiled. "Once upon a time, there was a young woman who thought she knew exactly how her life would go. But then she met a man who changed everything." From the doorway, Malik watched, his heart full. Later, when Eliza was asleep, they sat together on the balcony, the lights of Geneva reflecting across the water. Malik took Amara's hand, his thumb brushing over the wedding ring that had once belonged to his grandmother. "Any regrets?" he asked softly. echoing a question she had asked him years ago. Amara looked down at their intertwined fingers, then up at the man who had torn up a contract and given her freedom instead of obligation. "Not a single one," she whispered, leaning in to kiss him under the stars. Life after marriage was far from simple, but it was theirs. Amara balanced her growing career with family, while Malik rebuilt what remained of the Carter empire on his own terms. He no longer chased boardroom power for wealth alone, but poured his energy into philanthropy and meaningful projects. There were challenges. The press never stopped circling, hungry for scandal. Some colleagues doubted Amara's rise, whispering that she owed her success to Malik's influence, not her own talent. She silenced them with her brilliance in court, proving again and again that she was formidable in her own right. At home, their daughter filled their lives with joy and chaos. Malik, once a man who measured success in billions, now measured it in bedtime stories, messy pancake breakfasts, and the way Amara's laughter lit up their home. One night, exhausted from a long case, Amara collapsed onto the sofa while Malik massaged her shoulders. "I don't know if I can keep up with everything," she admitted. "You don't have to do it alone," he said firmly. "We're partners always." His words anchored her. Through every storm, he reminded her that she was not fighting by herself, that love was not about contracts or bargains, but about standing side by side. Years passed, their bond deepening with each trial. Amara became a respected figure in international law, known for her sharp mind and unshakable integrity. Malik built a foundation that transformed lives across Atlanta and beyond. Together, they created a legacy greater than money, a legacy of justice, compassion, and love. One evening, after a long day in court, Amara stood by the window of their Geneva apartment. Malik joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist as the city lights glittered below. "Do you ever think about how it all began?" she asked softly. "All the time," he admitted. "I think about the contract we tore up and the choice we made instead. And I thank God every day for it." Amara leaned back against him, her heart steady. "Me too, we wrote our own story. And we're still writing it," he murmured, kissing her gently. 10 years after tearing up the contract, Amara Johnson Carter stood once again in a courtroom, this time as one of the most respected human rights attorneys in the world. Her reputation had become legendary. She had changed laws, freed the innocent, and given hope to countless lives. Malik sat proudly in the gallery, their daughter Eliza by his side, clapping as her mother finished another powerful argument. That night in their Geneva home, Eliza asked for her favorite story before bed. "Mommy, tell me again how you and Daddy fell in love." Amara smiled as she tucked her in. "Well, once there was a girl who thought her life was already written, but then she met a man who taught her that the most important story is the one you choose to write yourself." Eliza's eyes sparkled with wonder before sleep claimed her. Later, Amara and Malik sat together on the balcony, the cool night air brushing against their skin as the lights of the city shimmered across the water. Malik took her hand and traced her ring with his thumb. "Any regrets?" he asked softly. She looked into his eyes, the same eyes that had once unsettled her but now held every ounce of her trust. "Not one," she whispered. "You gave me freedom. You gave me love. And you gave me a life I chose for myself." His lips curved into a smile as he pulled her close. "And you gave me everything I never knew I was missing." Their kiss was gentle but certain, a seal on a decade of love born not from contracts or obligations, but from courage, trust, and choice. The life they had built together was proof that sometimes the most beautiful beginnings come from breaking, free of what binds you and daring to follow your heart. Amara rested her head on his chest as the stars glowed above. "We wrote our own story," she whispered. "And we'll keep writing it," Malik replied. And in that moment, with love anchoring them and freedom guiding them, they knew with absolute certainty that their story had only just begun.